So I want to talk more about something that a book that you wrote.
Yeah.
Called Clusterfuck.
Yes.
Clusterfuck.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. So first of all, what does that even mean?
Yeah. So the little backstory is after I broke my leg skiing in Switzerland when I was 22, I had to be in bed for a month because I couldn't move my leg. And at the time, nowadays you have surgery, they have you bend your leg, the next day you're in PT.
Yeah.
20 years ago, they're like, just leave it up and let it atrophy for a month, don't move it. Yeah. So I was in bed for about 2 weeks after surgery, woke up in the middle of the night with the worst headache I've ever had in my life. And I'd never even had a headache. It felt like my whole life I had never had a headache. And all of a sudden, 2 weeks after this major surgery, it felt like there was an ice pick going into my eye.
Oh my God.
And I was free. I thought I had a brain tumor and was dying. And then it took years. These headaches, then I would get 5 or 6 a day for 2 months, and then they'd go away, and I'd go a year, no headache. Then
Were
1 year
you
later,
it might have been traumatic brain injury.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah,
so I saw a neurologist. I had to go to the ER. I missed Christmas 1 year because it was so bad. I had to get rushed to the ER for these headaches. And turns out I was diagnosed with cluster headaches, which are considered the most painful condition known to mankind. Cluster headaches, and they are these ice pick headaches that feel like they're going into your eye socket, and they're violent. It's not like sometimes with migraines and other headaches, things that can help you might be being in a dark room, quiet, relaxing you're not sensitive to light with a cluster headache. You're just thrashing on the ground, holding your head and feeling like you're going to die. And you can't even sit still. You're rolling in a ball on the floor. And they're also called suicide headaches. Wow. I'd had them now for almost 20 years. And I've tried every type of medication, and they would put me on verapamil, which is a blood pressure medication, even though I have good blood pressure, to help lessen the severity of these headaches. And that only made it hard to breathe. It would feel like I'm breathing through a straw. And so I had done a bunch of research, and I had been suffering for now at one point for like 16 years with these headaches, and they would destroy my life. Like doing improv, all of a sudden I have a 3-month window where I'm getting 6 of these headaches a day for 3 months straight. I can't do improv at night. I can't perform. It's affecting my acting career, writing career. I can't go to work because you're up all night. Sure. And then you're up all night and you're not sleeping for 2 months at a time. And regular migraine medicine does not work for cluster headaches. So a friend of my wife's, Beth, sent her an article about psilocybin, like magic mushrooms and LSD, to treat cluster headaches. Because cluster headaches, there's no known medical cure.
Sure. I've never even heard of cluster headaches.
Yeah, they're very rare. They affect under 1% of the entire population. It's predominantly men, and it usually comes around age 22. Okay. It's changed since then. I know a lot of women who suffer from them too, but the crazy thing is I would be on these meds and they would make me feel awful, and the verapamil, the blood pressure, and then I'm doing these injections, which are like, they're sumatriptan injections, which feel like morphine pens, which you're like jabbing your leg and you're passing out. And then you have this hangover from the meds, because these headaches will last like an hour and a half. Oh my. And the only other thing that helps is inhaling pure oxygen. So I have an oxygen tank at the house. So long story short, my wife's friend read an article that possible cure for cluster headaches is magic mushrooms, psilocybin from magic mushrooms or LSD.
And are they legal? Or?
No,
they're not.
No, neither are legal.
Wow.
And they're a Schedule I narcotic.
Sure.
And
I thought maybe a doctor could prescribe.
No, they can't. They can't. So that's why I decided to write this book about this guy. Again, I turned it more into, it was originally a memoir, then I turned it into a novel about a character like myself who's got the most painful condition known to mankind, yet there's no real cure for it and no real medicine that works aside from a Schedule I narcotic. So you're like, suicide headaches, or do I go to jail for taking, like going to get LSD and mushrooms and trying to get a lot of it? Sure. So it is an actual clusterfuck of trying, because it's also, once you get older, you don't have as many friends that are going to fish shows that can get you a bag of mushrooms. It's like harder to be like, where do I get mushrooms? Where do I get LSD? What you've just done, to those that are listening that love those kind of drugs, like you just gave everybody a cluster headache here. Yes, what you've done. Exactly. I love it. See? So it's funny, being a guy who never really did drugs. I always liked beer and stuff, but I smoked pot a couple of times in my life, but I was never a big drug guy, and I'd never done mushrooms, never done LSD until I was like 40 years old.
Okay.
I tried mushrooms. I'm tripping with a kid, with a baby and another one. And I'm tripping for the first time. It would be like, all right, Dad's going to dose today. So like I would go in our office and my wife would have the two girls. I remember it was before Easter and they're making Easter eggs in the kitchen and I'm tripping on LSD. And
now you would only do it when you had the headaches?
No.
Or?
So there's a whole thing where people have been like, oh, if you just eat a handful. But the thing is, it doesn't work that way. You have to do it. There's like an actual scientific way. There's real science behind it.
Right?
So I had to get a gram scale and I measure out and I have very organized, because I went to a headache conference in Austin, Texas, where these world-renowned neurologists and people were talking all about psilocybin and the benefits. I mean, it's helping people with depression, and it's getting legalized right now in certain states,
so
like Colorado.
They
knew.
Here, yeah.
But the problem with psilocybin is, like in the 60s, they were studying at Harvard, and then it kind of like turned into like LSD orgy parties and stuff with students, and it was like, okay, we're stopping all research on this stuff, which sucks because there's a lot of good they can do. So, but now after 20 something or 30 years, they're starting to do a lot of research again. They're finding so much good that comes out of psilocybin.
Yeah.
And one major one. So the way I treat it is, like, if I have all of a sudden I have a headache, I can't just go eat a bunch of mushrooms. It's when they go into their remission period, that's when I start taking mushrooms. So it's like every 3 months I need to eat mushrooms, a small dose. I don't have to go,
crazy
go to Banana Town Junction here. I can just do like a small amount where I feel like I've had like 6 glasses of wine or something.
Sure.
And colors get pretty vibrant, but I will every 3 months just eat mushrooms as a deterrent. It's like almost taking a multivitamin. It keeps the headaches at bay. So having gotten them every year for every year for 17 years, all of a sudden I started doing this mushrooms. I went 3.5 years without a headache for the first time in 17 years. And I was like, okay, there's some real stuff to it.
For you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I hate it. I'll be honest. I don't like, so that's why I want more people to do more science to get the psilocybin so I don't have to trip when I have my kids in the other room and I'm hiding watching old movies.
Extract what is in that.
Exactly.
Helps,
like
right?
they've done with CBD and taking the THC out. I'm hoping they can find,
a way to do that.
Yeah.
So it's been a couple years since you've had one of the cluster headaches, or what?
Yes.
So it's working.
It is still working. I still have to do it. It's, there are worse things. I was on a cocktail of awful meds I was taking prednisone for years and these injections, and it was making me feel awful, to taking something that's like natural and actually is kind of a good time.
It's work.
Yeah. And I get a free day and I can watch like superhero movies because my wife likes period piece movies and I like superhero movies. So those are the times I get to watch all my movies.
And write Led Zeppelin songs.
Exactly. Exactly. I got to start writing music. I'm an awful singer, but it's a good tip. I got to start doing that.
Exactly. Right. I got to imagine that Bohemian Rhapsody was written with something, There's no way, right, that you could just come up with a song like that.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Oh, a lot of those. Some of those Beach Boys Pet Sounds and a couple of Beatles albums were completely under the influence of some.
So the book, Clusterfuck, is it out?
No, not out yet. Okay. I wrote it. That is actually being rewritten right now, and then they're bringing it back out. Because, I had done a change on it and thought it would be cool to bring the character down to like a young adult thing. And I think we just, it was all of a sudden the epiphany that, we're selling a pro drug book for kids. Maybe we should skew it a little older, But it was also, I wrote it a few years ago, or the beginning of it. I'm still working on it now, but now that things have changed and people have really found all of the benefits of psilocybin. So I'm in the process of rewriting it right now. And then we're going to take it out to publishers soon.
Well, the thing about it is there's probably like people that get these headaches that have never heard of this cluster term, right? And they just think that they get migraines.
Right, and a lot of people get these headaches, and the pain is so intense and it disrupts your life so much that a lot of people will take their own lives because there is no real medicine. So if you could do something, it's like, there is something there that is not bad for you and will work.
Well, so I can see it being very popular, because that's something that the press probably wants to talk about. You got migraines? Maybe it's not a migraine. Maybe it's a cluster headache. Here's a great book. And I can see you going on a whole book tour.
Right, exactly.